Have you ever loved someone who made you doubt your own reality? Someone who smiled at you like you were their entire world, but somehow made you feel like you were never enough. It starts so quietly, you don't even notice the trap being built around you. You just feel seen for the first time in your life. She studies you, your pain, your hopes, your wounds, and then she becomes everything you've ever wanted. Her words are soft, her attention magnetic, her affection intoxicating. You tell yourself you've finally found peace, that this is what real love must feel like. But deep down, something feels too perfect, too effortless, too much, too soon. You ignore it, because for the first time, someone finally understands you, or so you think. She learns you inside out, what makes you smile, what makes you hurt, what makes you open up. And then she gives you all of it in just the right doses. You start to crave her messages, her voice, her approval. You stop noticing how quickly she's become the center of your world. Every good morning, every late night confession, every look that says you're mine, it all feels like love, but it's not love. It's control, wrapped in tenderness. She doesn't love you for who you are. She loves the way you make her feel. You feed her need to be admired, to be chased, to be seen as perfect. And the more you give, the more she takes. Then one day, without warning, something shifts. The warmth disappears. The same eyes that once looked at you with wonder now look through you, cold and distant. You try to bring it back. You replay every conversation, searching for what you did wrong. You tell yourself she's just tired, stressed, maybe hurt, but nothing changes. The person who once made you feel like home now makes you feel like a stranger in your own skin. That's when the self-doubt begins to eat at you. You start apologizing for things you never did. You question your tone, your words, even your memories. You start believing that maybe, just maybe, you're the problem. That's the power of a covert narcissist. She doesn't need to yell or threaten. She dismantles you quietly, with silence, with guilt, with subtle disapproval that cuts deeper than any insult. She trains you to chase her validation, to mistake her indifference for mystery, her cruelty for complexity. You tell yourself she's just different, that she loves in her own way. But love doesn't drain you. Love doesn't confuse you. Love doesn't make you doubt your own worth. What she offers isn't love, it's dependency disguised as passion. And every time you reach out to fix things, she tightens her grip a little more. Eventually, you start losing pieces of yourself. You stop laughing the way you used to. You stop talking about your dreams. You become smaller, quieter, easier to control, and she loves that. Because the less of you there is, the more power she holds. But here's the truth she never wanted you to see. The love you thought you had was never real. It was a reflection, an echo of what she saw in your eyes. She loved your admiration, your devotion, your willingness to put her above yourself. But she never loved you, not the way you deserve. And that realization is where your freedom begins. Because once you see the illusion for what it is, you can't unsee it. Once you understand that her affection was just a tool, her empathy just a mask, you stop chasing answers from someone who was never capable of giving them. You start reclaiming the parts of yourself she tried to erase. The parts that still believe in love, in truth, in peace. The parts that belong to you. You're not broken for loving her. You were simply human. You saw the good that could have been, not the emptiness that was. But now you know. You know what manipulation feels like when it's dressed as devotion. You know what false love sounds like when it whispers all the right words, and because you know you'll never fall for it again. She didn't love you. She needed you. But you, now that you've seen behind the mask, you don't need her anymore. You're free. Freedom feels strange at first. It's quiet, unfamiliar, like walking through the ruins of a home you once built with your bare hands. You can still hear her voice echoing in your head. The words that once made you feel alive, now haunting you in the silence. You miss her, even after knowing what she did. That's what makes this kind of pain so cruel. Your mind knows she was poison, but your heart still craves the taste. You replay every memory, trying to separate the real from the fake, but it all blurs together. That's how deep she got into you. She made you doubt your own memories, your own instincts, your own truth. This is the aftermath of manipulation. It doesn't end when she leaves. It lingers in the way you question yourself, in the way you flinch when someone shows you kindness, in the way you wonder if love will ever feel safe again. But this is also where the healing begins, because for the first time, you're not trying to save her, you're trying to save yourself. And that shift, that quiet decision, changes everything. You start to see how her control worked, how every compliment was a leash, how every tear was a weapon, how every moment of affection was time to keep you hooked. You realize she never wanted partnership, she wanted power, and you gave it to her because you believed love meant sacrifice. But real love doesn't ask you to disappear. Real love doesn't punish you for existing. Real love meets you where you are without turning your heart into a battlefield. The truth hits hard, but it also wakes something up inside you. That spark she tried to bury, it's still there. The part of you that laughs, that dreams, that trusts, that believes, it never died. It's just been waiting for you to remember who you are. You start to feel it again, slowly, quietly, like sunlight creeping through the cracks of a broken wall. And that's when you realize you were never weak for loving her. You were strong for surviving her. Every narcissist counts on one thing, that you'll stay too ashamed to speak, too confused to leave, too broken to heal. But you're proving them wrong just by breathing, by waking up, by choosing to face the truth instead of running from it. You're learning that healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering who you were before the manipulation, before the lies, before the constant gaslighting made you question your worth. There will be days you still feel empty, days you miss her even after knowing she was never real. That's okay. It doesn't mean you're going backwards. It means you're human. It means you're learning to love without losing yourself. Because now you know what love is not. You've seen how someone can wear empathy like a mask, how they can fake vulnerability just to keep you close. You've seen the game, and that means you can never be played the same way again. And as you rebuild, you start setting boundaries where there used to be excuses. You start saying no without guilt. You start listening to your gut instead of silencing it. That voice inside you, the one she tried to erase, it's your compass now. It knows who you are. It knows what you deserve. Follow it. This is where you rise. Not by pretending it didn't hurt, but by owning every scar and turning it into proof that you made it out. Because you did. You escaped something designed to break you. You saw the truth and chose freedom over fantasy. That's strength. That's power. That's your rebirth. And here's the part you'll never understand. You will heal. You will love again, deeper and truer than before, because your love will come from clarity, not confusion. You'll recognize peace because you've lived through chaos. You'll recognize honesty because you've been drowned in lies. You'll recognize yourself, finally, fully, without her reflection in your way. So breathe. You're not broken, you're becoming. And every heartbeat that carries you further from her is proof that your story didn't end with her manipulation. It began with your awakening. You've spent so long surviving that you forgot what living feels like. The silence after chaos can feel unbearable, like standing in a world too still, too empty. But this is where your power begins to return. Not all at once, not loudly. It comes in whispers. The first deep breath that doesn't hurt. The first laugh that feels real. The first moment you look in the mirror and see someone worth saving. That's you coming back to life. You thought she broke you, but what she really did was strip away everything false, everything fragile, until only the truth of you remained. And that truth is indestructible. She wanted you dependent. She wanted you doubting. Because people who doubt themselves are easy to control. But you're not that person anymore. You've walked through fire and learned that pain can either destroy you or forge you into something new. Every sleepless night, every tear, every moment of confusion, it wasn't wasted. It was transformation disguised as suffering. And now, you stand on the other side of it. holding the lesson that changes everything. You don't need to be loved to be worthy. You already are. The moment you stop needing validation from people who harm you, you become untouchable. That's the freedom she feared you'd find. That's why she kept you small, uncertain, always chasing a version of her that never truly existed. But now you see it. You see how she crafted chaos to keep you tethered, how she twisted love into a weapon to make you stay. You see it all clearly, and that clarity is your armor. Because once you understand manipulation, it loses its power. Once you see the pattern, you can never be caught in it again. And still, there's a part of you that wants closure. You want her to admit it, to apologize, to see the pain she caused. But she won't. She can't. Her pride won't let her face the truth. That's why you have to stop waiting for the apology that will never come. You have to give yourself the closure she never could. You have to look at the scars she left and say, yes, it happened, but it didn't end me. You owe yourself that freedom. There will be moments when your mind tries to pull you back, when you remember her smile and forget the cruelty that followed, when you miss the version of her that never existed. That's okay. Healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering differently. It's about seeing the illusion for what it was and choosing yourself anyway. That's strength. That's healing. That's how you take back control. You've been trained to think that love must hurt, that connection means sacrifice, that your value lies in how much you can endure. But those were her eyes, not your truth. Love should never cost your peace. Real love is steady, not chaotic. It makes you feel seen, not inspected. It builds you up, not breaks you down. And when you understand that, something inside you shifts. You stop chasing pain disguised as passion. You stop mistaking attention for affection. You stop giving pieces of yourself to people who haven't earned even your silence. Every step away from her is a declaration. You are done settling for almost. Done shrinking to be understood. Done explaining your worth to those who refuse to see it. The world she built around you was small, but you were never meant to live small. You were meant to rise, to rebuild, to love in a way that doesn't destroy you. You survived what was meant to silence you. And now every breath you take is a rebellion. Every boundary you set is a revolution. You are not who you were when she met you. You're stronger, sharper, wiser. She created the storm, but you became the calm that survived it. This is your rebirth, not as the person she wanted you to be, but as the person you were always meant to become. You don't owe her your anger anymore. You don't owe her your pain. You owe yourself peace, and you're finally ready to claim it. Because now you understand she never destroyed you. She revealed the power you didn't know you had. And that power, once awakened, never goes back to sleep. You've spent so long rebuilding that you almost forgot what strength feels like. Not the kind that comes from pretending you're fine, but the kind that grows quietly beneath the surface, the kind born from surviving what was meant to destroy you. You carry that power now. It's in the way you speak, the way you move, the way you no longer chase the love that once kept you captive. You've learned that peace is not found in other people's approval. It's found in your own acceptance. And that realization is the moment everything changes. Because once you stop needing to be chosen, you start choosing yourself. You start seeing the world differently. The same tricks that once trapped you now stand out like warning lights. You can hear manipulation in its first whisper. You can feel dishonesty before it fully forms. That's not paranoia, that's awareness. The kind that comes from walking through hell and memorizing every flame. You've earned that wisdom. You've earned that intuition. You no longer confuse attention with affection, chaos with chemistry, control with care.